Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 3 important things you should know about tonight's powerful full moon happening July 3rd, 2023. Number 1, you are becoming a lot more psychic, more intuitive, more perceptive, even more so than you already were. Many people who find themselves watching my videos and videos like this have always been very empathic, very open, very intuitive, old souls, as they say. You can read people like a book. You can tell if someone's lying. You can immediately sum somebody up as being good for you, not good for you. You can perceive their intentions despite what they're saying. You know these things. It's common sense to you. Your life has probably been like that for a long time, but now it's increasing quite a lot. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. I'd be curious. Leave a comment below if you are feeling a lot more tapped in and a lot more psychic. And this is a great thing, but it can be kind of confusing. It's been tripping me up a little bit in some of my relationships and some of my day-to-day affairs. And the reason is sometimes I'll be in a circumstance and just know the truth of it, the essence. And sometimes what I know to be true is completely different than what's kind of playing out and dancing around up on the surface. And then it's a matter of, well, what do I respond to? What I know this person is intending or what they're saying? And I've actually gotten myself into a decent amount of, not trouble, but sort of trouble in the past year because I've been ignoring what I know to be true. I've been able to kind of sense the energetics of a particular circumstance and know, I don't know how I know, but I know it's off. It's not right. But because on the surface, it's playing out a lot differently than what I know to be true, I've kind of well, I don't really know how to approach this. How do I address this? People aren't going to understand where I'm coming from. But now, if there's one thing I've learned is to trust my instincts, trust my intuition, and go with that, because I'm always regretting it in the end. I mean, how is that for you? Have you been one to kind of ignore your intuition and maybe give people a chance or try to see the best in the situation, hope for the best, hope you're wrong, but you never are? Number 2, healing for your ancestors. Healing, transforming for your past selves, your past lives. And also, of course, for the future. When people start to go through a spiritual awakening, initially a lot of it's their own kind of rearrangement within their life circumstance. Life starts to break down, you lose your job, you get dumped by your boyfriend or girlfriend, you wonder what the hell's going on, you find yourself falling into this downward spiral people call the dark night of the soul. And all that really means is all the things that were built upon a faulty foundation are crumbling so you can build something new and authentic. So for a while, your awakening journey kind of tends to look like that. Also, there's an adjustment period where you're coming to terms with the synchronicity and the mystical experiences and the divine aspects of life now bleeding into your current circumstance. And after a while, however, there is a deepening where you kind of brush up on all the surface level stuff that, I know that's kind of a deep thing what I just said, but in a certain context, it's all kind of surface level. And then again, your awakening starts to take you very deep and you find yourself really popping into, piercing into, bringing up very ancient energies from your mom, your grandmother, your great-grandfather, this ancestral baggage, these ancestral curses start to be broken through you. And this sort of space of awareness, this safe space that you've cultivated within yourself is powerful enough to kind of almost alchemize these energies. Also, your past incarnations or parallel incarnations, however you want to look at it, your connections start to work them out in your own body, in your own psyche, for the sake of all that you are connected to. Now, this is a really, really wonderful thing, but when it starts to happen, it can make you feel like you're going nuts, going wonky, because it's the initial reaction for most people, and it was for myself, is to try to make sense of these energies and feelings, these powerful emotions, and like look out at your own life and say, well, why am I feeling this way? Where are these energies coming from? I don't understand, but they're real. They're maybe more real and more powerful than anything I've ever felt in my life, but they don't make any sense. Like I had a guy I worked with years ago, and he all of a sudden just started to develop this overwhelming fear of getting cancer. And he was a young dude. He was like maybe 20 years old, real young guy, healthy. I was like, was there anybody in your family with cancer? No. You ever been told by a doctor you are, at risk for cancer? No. Where did this come from? He didn't know, but nonetheless, he was staying up at night worrying about getting cancer. 20 years old, healthy as a horse. Didn't make sense. For me, I had it where I've shared this before, where all of a sudden I started to have intense fear and paranoia about something happening to my children. Why? You live in a safe neighborhood, right, Vic? They go to like a nice Waldorf school, super safe there, super good people there. Yeah. They're all in fantastic health. Yeah. Where is it coming from? I don't know. But what I did and what many do is they try to find it. You eventually find what seems to be evidence to justify these powerful feelings, and then you're really caught up in these unnecessary mental loops of anxiety, because then you're trying to fix the feelings in your external life in these sort of stretched, like over-the-top ways. And nothing works, because these feelings will just continue to come up and surface in your body. And they start to be kind of sometimes even connected to like a negative synchronicity. For example, I used to see, this is inconvenient for me, but I would see like number 4, I would see 4s. And 4, when I see a 4, it would bring up this feeling of worry and concern and fear that something bad could happen to your children. 4. Because 4, to my twisted mind, represented 4 out of 5 family members, meaning one's gone. 4, you lose one. I know it's insane, but I found myself like not even that long ago going through this experience on the lookout for 4s, thinking it meant I'm on track for this negative timeline, but this is all just heady mental anguish stemming from a complete lack of understanding of what was actually happening, which is amazing, which is a blessing. If you're driving yourself crazy like I was, good. 1, you don't have to. It's an ancestral healing. It's an ancestral cleansing happening through you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to prevent anything. You just have to hold space for it. What I found for myself is when I started to just like not run away from those feelings, what my body really wanted to do was cry, was grieve. Grieve the loss of what? Something from my deep past. For example, what I speculate and have kind of learned through different like plant medicine ceremonies and things like that is my father lost a son at about 9, 10 years old. My grandfather rather, my grandpa lost a son. And then he started drinking, and I speculate that he never really allowed himself to feel the anguish that a parent would feel. So I found myself feeling it. I've also done past life regressions where I realized I have lost, at least the way it seemed, that I have lost my family in a past life. And this other version of myself also didn't know what to do with that pain. So here it's been lingering in these future generations of me and from my family. And now I'm going through a spiritual awakening, and it's time to put an end to it. And you put an end to it by accepting it, being with it. Nothing mental, just physically allowing yourself to feel those feelings. And it's kind of like a pressure cooker. I used to grow my own mushrooms, and I'd have to pressure cook like this grain to sterilize it anyway. You know, once there's enough pressure, there's this little valve that kind of lifts up, and it's like, psst, it lets out the pressure, right? There's still a lot of pressure there, but some of it escapes. Psst. And what happens with this ancestral healing, and this can happen especially during like a formal healing ceremony, but also just oftentimes in your own daily life randomly, these emotions come up. And it's not like a problem, it's more like some of that pressure wants to leave your system. And every time you allow yourself to feel those feelings, they're not easy, they seem bad and concerning, but if you can allow yourself to be with them, you will release some of that. And over time, it's gone. It's gone from you. You don't have to deal with it anymore. And your ancestors will be thanking you. And number 3, realizing that you've had support all along. Every single person has a tremendously powerful support system built into themselves, and most never use it. You know, a lot of people, they go through life and they do things, they build businesses, they chase careers, they chase self-images, they try to strive to accomplish things to get the support they never received from mom or dad. I was watching this Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. Arnold Schwarzenegger, most of you know who he is. He's one of the most successful human beings you could say ever. He literally dominated and conquered and owned the world of bodybuilding. And then he did the exact same thing and became the highest paid movie star. Literally, one year he was the highest grossing, his movie Terminator 2, I believe it was, grossed more money that year than anything else. And he became the top echelon of movie stars. And then he became the governor of California. Well, during that time, towards the tail end of his acting career, his mom died and his dad had already passed. And he found himself wondering, like feeling like, well, who do I do all this for? He realized that all these ambitions was a little boy inside of him wanting mom to say, good job. And then he kind of continued on his pursuit. That was a fleeting glimpse of clarity for him. But for us, it can be different. You can have that awareness of your true motives for doing such things and realize, and I had this realization last year, about a year ago exactly, and I'll tell you what it is. The story will therein explain the realization. I was running a retreat. It was my first big retreat. There was about 100 people. It was here in Sedona, where I'm at right now. And prior to that, my retreat size was like 25, 35, and that's with friends, but like generally 20 people. So it was like 5x what I was used to. And consequently, there felt like 5 times more pressure to deliver, to help these people. And I was like crumbling under the pressure. The first like half of the retreat, I felt like I was, after every like talk I did, I'd go back to my little room alone and just lay there and just sort of like suffer in my nerves. And there was so much anxiety. And along that time, early on in the retreat, actually, this woman was very sweet and she bought me this like tarot deck. And it was a very different type of tarot deck. It wasn't like the type of, with like the major arcanas. It was not a traditional tarot deck. It just had these kind of like random, seemingly random little like messages. And anyway, I was like maybe a third of the way through the retreat, realizing something in me has to shift. I can't keep going on like this. Why do I feel this need to impress everybody, to make sure everyone has a perfect experience? This was my expectation. I was crumbling. So out of like desperation, I like picked up this tarot deck and kind of flipped through in my sloppy, haphazard way in which I normally use tarot. And this card popped up and it said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of, you can be the measure of your own success, or something. It was something that basically said, you don't need the approval of anybody but yourself. You can be your own judge of quality. That the quality work you did or did not do is not dependent on what mom or dad think, which eventually translates into what your peers think and what social media says. It's all just this projection, basically. And it's insane. It causes us to really stretch ourselves, or like me, to live this anxiety-filled life unnecessarily, trying to impress mom and dad. So when I saw that card, it was such a relief that I can be my own cheerleader. I can support myself. Even if everybody doesn't like the retreat, I will know, it's obvious, I would know if I did a good job or not. If I showed up and did my best, if I tried my hardest, if it was authentic, if it resonated with me, what else matters? And that's the big theme right now. Self-love. Supporting yourself. It's a revolutionary, simple thing that's been under our nose this entire time. It can take the edge off of all areas of life when you realize you can support yourself. And before I leave, I invite you to do that. I invite you to think back along this last year and ask yourself, what's a key takeaway, a breakthrough, a success, a victory? Something you pushed through, something you accomplished, something you've broken out of. You're probably right now flooded with different things. There's probably a lot. And yet most people don't pay any mind to that and instead focus on the next thing to fix, the mistakes they made, the flaws, the blemishes, which reminds me of a painting. This my friend Drew Canoli. He owns this company, Organifi, and he's a very wealthy man. And I've always loved this painting he has. He's got this painting of this like shaman goddess in the jungle. There's like a jaguar and parrots and birds. It's lots of colors. And this woman, this goddess is radiating like power and grace and divinity. And it's like this huge, like life-size original painting by this artist with the last name of Mosley. Phenomenal. And anyway, I was at one of his houses when he was moving to Sedona a few years ago. And I saw the painting. I was just kind of hanging around the house. A bunch of us were there just kind of chilling. And I saw this painting and it had like a blanket over it. And I noticed there was a little bit of like dirt, a little smudge on the painting, a little blemish. Now, I didn't care. That painting's so phenomenal. When you hang that puppy up, you don't see the blemish. You're taken back by the beauty of this phenomenal, glorious painting. And that painting is you, your life. Everybody, every human being is beyond that painting. But we all have a couple of blemishes. It's in our nature. We're not perfectly conscious beings yet. We have mistakes, things to be ashamed of, things that we regret. But these blemishes pale in comparison to the gorgeous painting that we all are. And if you can take one thing from this video, it's this: to shift your perspective from dwelling and zeroing in on the blemishes and broadening your perspective and seeing the entire painting for what it really is. With that said, my friends, I wish you an amazing day and I thank you so much for watching. Much love to you all. Peace.